property acquisition in Nigeria. So basically, property acquisition and land acquisition is a very common thing, normal phenomenon that happens every day. Someone is buying a land, someone is buying a property, someone is leasing a property to somebody else, and these transactions are usually governed or regulated by certain laws and principles. So, and they also have requirements. So one of these requirements is governor's consent. So today we are going to talk about why governor's consent is important. But before we go into that, we're going to talk a little bit about what governor's consent is and when it is required, as well as the procedures of obtaining governor's consent. So basically, the Land Use Act has given the land, all land in Nigeria to the has given all land in Nigeria to the government to hold in trust for the citizens. So that is why when you acquire a land, you have to acquire a governor's consent. So initially, anybody who is the first, or should I say, who are the first owners of a land, do not require governor's consent. What it is that they have is a certificate of occupancy, which is popularly known as C of O. So what that basically means is that if you are the first owners of a land, which is mostly family lands that have not had any occupants at all on it, once you are the first owner of that land, what you have is a certificate of occupancy that is given to you by the governor. So if subsequently you want to sell that land or lease that land or transfer your remaining ownership to anybody on that land, that person has to get a certificate, obtain the governor's consent, and it goes on and on and on and on. So that's basically why it is required, because it is important, because it is required by law. So now let's go to what exactly is governor's consent. So governor's consent is the consent or the permission of the government for you to carry on any land transaction. It is you basically asking the government that, okay, I want to buy this land, okay, I want to lease out this land, or I want to take mortgage, and I want to take loan, and I want to use this land as security. Can I do that? Do I have the permission to do that? And then the governor gives you consent. So the consent comes in form of your deed of assignment, which is your agreement, which is the paperwork that you have to do for you to transfer land, obviously, or lease land, or mortgage. In the case of mortgage, a deed of mortgage. So what the governor's consent is usually at the back of that document, where the governor consents that, and a number is given. So that is basically your governor's consent. So but it's not in every land transaction that you require a governor's consent. So some of the transactions where a governor's consent is required is where you are selling a land, or where you are assigning your remaining ownership to a person, or where there is a mortgage, or where there is a lease or sublease, or where you are gifting a land to a person. Under this, it's only in these transactions that you actually require a governor's consent. So let's move now to the procedures of acquiring a governor's consent. So there are some certain documents that you require to submit to the land registry, which I'll read out here. They are your duly completed Form 1C, and this is only applicable in Lagos State. So you get your Form 1C from the land registry, and the assigner and the assignee, you have to sign it, and it must be sworn by a magistrate, or before a magistrate, or before a notary public. So that's one of the documents. Another one is a certified true copy of the root title of the land or property that it is that you want to sell or acquire. Another is 3 copies of the deed of assignment for the property or the deed of mortgage, depending on whichever it is, with a clear survey plan attached to it. That is the clear survey plan of the property or the land that you want to acquire. Then 4 passports with a white background. Where a company is involved, you need your certificate of incorporation of the company or a form showing the particulars of the directors, and a form showing the particulars of the directors. That is if a company is involved. It is if the company is the one buying the land or selling the land. Then site photographs of the site with date, then location sketch as well, then a letter of authority by the applicant or means of identification. This is where the application is being done on behalf of the person that wants to buy the land, and a covering letter which with your telephone and your email address, and evidence of payment of tax by both parties, the person selling and the person buying the property. So once you have all these documents, they are sent to the Surveyor General's office, which then a chartering is going to be done, and if there are no encumbrances, there are no defects, a clear note is then sent to the Land Bureau, and a demand notice is issued to the applicant for the applicant to pay some fees. Some fees include, all these fees include consent fee or capital gain, and you also have to pay a registration fee as well as stamp duties fees. So once you make all these payments to the government, then a title number then the applicant is also designated. The application is also sent to a commissioner who is usually designated by the governor to handle land matters and sign land documents. So once this is taken to the commissioner for signing, and you pay your stamp duties, your registration fee as well, then a title number is then issued. This then indicates that the transaction has been duly perfected and the governor's consent has been acquired. So that's basically the process. Once you send those documents to the land registry, the application is forwarded to the Surveyor General's office and then to commissioner. You pay some fees as well as and then you get your governor's consent. It's as easy as that, and it's actually supposed to take about 30 days, but due to some factors, it might actually take longer than 30 days, possibly 40 days or more, but ordinarily it's supposed to take 30 days. So once all this is done, you have the assurance that okay, this property is mine, this transfer is perfected, and there are no issues whatsoever. So that's the procedure. So now for us to now talk, so now let's go to the importance of obtaining the governor's consent. Since we've already said when it is needed, as in what transactions need governor's consent. So now let's talk about the importance. So from this discussion, you see that an importance is that it is a form of validity of land transaction, because it means that any land transaction that requires governor's consent, where governor's consent is not sought, is invalid. So, and there is no transfer of ownership. Any transfer of ownership that is done is invalid, and it is not seen or recognized according to law. So the first advantage or reason or importance of governor's consent is its validity of land transaction. Another one is evidence of ownership, because it serves as an evidence of ownership because the land transaction is legal. So you have the document with your government consent signed with the title number and everything. You have this to show that okay, this land belongs to me and no one else, because most times land grabbers know that okay, this whole process of governor's consent might be a little a little bit lengthy, so they try to find a way to sell a particular land to different people, knowing that okay, it's only the person that has the governor's consent that can actually claim the land. So that's why it is important have to obtain governor's consent, because it is a form of ownership. It shows that you own that land and all rights were transferred to you. Another one is that it's security of title, just like I said earlier about land grabbers, aka or moneyless, trying to sell the particular land, knowing that okay, only the person that has the governor's consent can actually claim that land. So it is a form of security. Once you have the governor's consent, you know that nothing can come against that. If there is, let's say, an incident where someone is claiming that land, so far as you have the governor's consent, there is no way you are losing land, because it actually belongs to you. Another thing is ease of transaction. Once you have the governor's consent on a particular property, it is easy for you to sell and lease it out again, because you know that you have all rights and ownership to do whatever it is that you wish to do. And it's also a way of keeping record for the government, because they know that okay, this particular land was obtained, this particular land belonged to this person, and this person sold this particular land to this other person, and then it moved to this person, to this person, to this person. So basically it's a way of setting out records. And another last I guess important reason for obtaining governor's consent is the fact that it gives you peace of mind, because you know that okay, everything was perfected, all the things that you expected to do was done, and you have all full ownership. So it gives you peace of mind knowing that no matter what, you are the owner of this land. So basically these are the reasons why you should obtain governor's consent in any land transaction that you know requires governor's consent. Don't ever listen to anyone that says that oh, it's not needed, don't worry, once you sign this agreement, that's all. No, you must make sure that you obtain that governor's consent, because it's the validity of the land transaction. So I hope that we're all able to learn something today. I hope to see you guys next week again. Thank you very much. Have a good day.